It's game week, and Mercer is up next. Will DJ Durkin start Deuce night, or will it be Jackson Arnold?
This is the Weekend Tailgate. Brought to you by Golden's Cast Iron. C-Dub. I Joe. Be Will. By G. You are now listening to
Weekend Tailgate brought to you by our friends at Golden's Cast Iron. Visit goldenscastiron.com/WR. Use code Get Your Weight Up for 15% off your weights and code TWR for $65 off fire pits and Kamado grills. The summer may be over, but the fall is here. That means great weather, great time to be outside, grilling on a Golden's Cast Iron grill, or staying in shape with some Golden's Cast Iron weights. Work out, grill out, chill out with Golden's Cast Iron. Join as a member. $5.99 a month will get you there. Come on into the War Report. Guys, we are going to have a great time over these last few weeks of the season, whether it's watch parties for the football game or it's post-game shows for basketball. We had a post-game before Auburn versus Houston today, so we're coming at you guys live twice in one evening here. But you can help keep the work that we're doing here going by joining as a member. Again, we appreciate our community for helping us grow our community. Speaking of which, you can hit that gifted membership button and help us grow the Green Name Gang if you're in the chat right now, or if you're on another social media platform and you're looking around and you're like, why do these guys have a green name? It's because they are War Report members, and you can give the gift of the War Report by hitting that gifted membership button. Check your email. If you subscribe to our channel and you interact with us at a high level, but you have not made a decision to become a member yet, well, you might be on the receiving end of one of these gifted memberships. Thank you, guys. Let's see if we can get 50 given away here today. Check us out on podcasts, all the podcast platforms. We are there. The Auburn Express, Uptempo, College Loop, Just a Sec, and the War Report Gaming channel. Head on over to your favorite podcast platform and subscribe to what we're doing. We're having a good time on podcasts as well. Lots of great audio-only content. So if you want to hear more of my epic rants, I do some stuff over there that I don't do on YouTube because I don't want y'all to look me in the eye while I'm crashing out over Auburn football. So head on over to your favorite podcast platform. Again, subscribe, help us climb the podcast charts. We are a top 100 podcast Caesar. We're aiming to be a top 50 podcast by the end of the season. You can help us get there. Check out our friends at the Vibe Vault. You can find them at 3462 Crosswinds Road, Suite E in Phoenix City, Alabama. If you're in the Columbus, Phoenix City area and you're looking to get fresh for the weekend, the Vibe Vault is a place for you. You can find them on Highway 431 right next to the Renfro Supermarket and the Marco's Pizza. The Vibe Vault, not just barbers, lifestyle consultants. Last but certainly not least, I want to thank our friends at the Rogue Shop. Visit rogueshop.com. Use code REPORT to get 15% off your Rogue Shop order. Pain, sleep, stress, anxiety, whatever ails you in life, the Rogue Shop potentially has something that has you covered. If you got some traditional ailments that could require some non-traditional remedies, well, our guy Richard is a longtime sponsor of the show, and he's dropping a little something extra in there for everybody using code REPORT today. Again, rogueshop.com. Use code REPORT to get 15% off your Rogue Shop order. Caesar. It's Mercer week. we had a bye. We had a late season bye week for Auburn. And a lot has happened for Auburn football over the last few weeks. They made the decision to move on from Hugh Freeze. DJ Durkin took over as interim. The offense exploded under Derek Nix. And now they get a chance to regroup here headed into a game that Auburn should be able to win no matter who starts at quarterback. But will it be Deuce Knight or will it be Jackson Arnold, or will they play Ashton Daniels and burn his red shirt? I can't believe that they're going to burn Ashton's red shirt. I've heard nothing to suggest that they will. We do have a press conference tomorrow where we will find out whether or not they will actually do that or not. But Deuce, what we do know is Deuce has taken a lot of reps in practice this past week and will take a lot of reps in practice this week that he has not taken in previous weeks. As a matter of fact, he was barely throwing headed into last week. And now they've got him off the bench and they've got him getting ready for game action. He cannot burn his red shirt at this point. I'm hoping to get news while we're live here. So if you're watching on Twitter, stick with us here. We've not gotten an official word that Deuce will start, but they're preparing as if that's a possibility here. How are you feeling about Deuce Knight, man, starting potentially for Auburn versus Mercer, and Ashton keeping his red shirt and possibly sidelining Jackson Arnold as an Auburn Tiger forever?
I mean, why not? I think you can focus on the future. Obviously, you still have the Iron Bowl coming up. You're preparing for that. That's the opportunity to always beat your rival. By beating them, you have the opportunity to be bowl eligible and to play an additional game. That's always important. But I think when it comes to Mercer, the expectation is that you should be able to beat them, to your point, regardless of who the QB is. So why not use this as an opportunity to focus on the future by not only not burning Ashton Daniels' red shirt, but also getting the fans to actually see Deuce Knight. And the reason that, Mike, if Ashton Daniels can look like a completely different QB from one week to the next, from Kentucky on the road to Vanderbilt, a top 20 ranked team at the time, I have to believe that Deuce Knight will look completely different in an offense that's suited to his abilities and his talents. Right. So I don't think you have a lot to lose there. And again, if things don't work the way that you expect them to, you always have Jackson Arnold to come off the bench to relieve him and to help out. But again, if we saw Ashton Daniels look completely different, and I know people were concerned with how Deuce Knight looked early in the season, I think all that's a wash if you have Derek Nix calling the plays for him. I think they'll be able to put him in positions where he can succeed against lesser competition in Mercer. I know they've been doing well this year, but I would expect him to actually do really well with the receivers that Auburn has and give fans an opportunity to get a sneak peek as to what the future could be with Deuce Knight. I think you do yourself a great favor in convincing him to stay when you're able to put him in positions so that he could see and catch a glimpse of what the future could be like with him as QB1.
Look, you also want your receivers to have some fun here over the last couple of weeks of the season. And I'm not saying they weren't having fun, but I'll tell you, I know
they weren't having fun. They were not having fun, Mike. No, they weren't having fun.
They didn't beat Vanderbilt, but boy, it looked a lot more fun out there. It certainly was more fun for the fans if you got to lose watching Cam Coleman make highlight reel catches and giving these receivers an opportunity to go out and use their God-given talents, man. Hugh Freeze talked about this. He said, you need guys with catch radius in this league. He went out and he got those guys, so credit to him, but then you didn't use them. Yeah. The amount of 11 personnel that we saw this year, astounding. They keep putting Preston Howard out there, and I'm like, is there a world where we see Eric Singleton and Cam Coleman and Perry Thompson and Malcolm Simmons all on the field at the same time? Why aren't we seeing that version of the offense? Could they have cooked that up in the bye week with 2 weeks to prepare? They could be cooking it up for Bama. Either way, you need a trigger man that can get those guys the ball. Now, we've seen that Ashton Daniels can do it. Can Deuce Knight do it, though? Now, the one time we saw Deuce this year, he didn't look great. I can't help but think, though, was it a symptom of the previous regime's methodology to offense here?
Definitely possible.
Yeah, could Deuce Knight look like a completely different man here under Derek Nix?
Yeah. And again, that's what to me, after what we saw against Vanderbilt, I'm willing to wipe the slate clean of anyone's performance under Hugh Freeze.
Everybody gets a pass.
You just get a chance to hit the reset button, right? Like okay. It's almost, again, if Ashton Daniels can look night and day different as a starter against Kentucky versus how he looked at Vandy, it's not out of the possibility that Deuce Knight can look completely different. Let's see what he got.
Yeah.
Low risk. You're playing Mercer. It's not like you throwing him out there to Bama in the Iron Bowl. It's Mercer. Let's see what the kids got.
Yeah, and you gotta you have to let him let it rip.
Absolutely.
Let's see the whole offense. 2 weeks to get this kid ready. Let's see him throw it around a little bit. Now, get Jeremiah. I want to see Jeremiah Cobb. Obviously, I want to see him get his yards. He's going to be a 1,000-yard rusher. He's going to be 1,000-yard rusher. What's his yardage total right now?
I can look that up while you go on.
Yeah. Jeremiah, I mean, he was close. I mean, I think I only need like 100 some yards to get to 1,000 yards for the season. But yeah, I think that he has a chance to do a lot over these last couple of games, especially with Bama coming. My good friend, 3-year Letterman, posted to Twitter today. He posted the records of Auburn and Alabama, and he said this is going to be the craziest effing football game you've ever seen, between a sub 500 Auburn and an 8-win, currently 8-win Alabama. I have to agree with them. I think this Iron Bowl is going to be pretty epic, and you potentially set up Deuce as an option if something happens to Ashton Daniels during the Iron Bowl by getting him these reps here. Would they turn to Ashton Daniels I'm sorry, to Deuce Knight in the Iron Bowl if Ashton Daniels got hurt, or would they go back to Jackson Arnold, a guy who's already beat Alabama?
I think that becomes an interesting question a week from today, after you play Mercer and after let's just say Deuce Knight starts against Mercer. That does become a very interesting question.
DJ Durkin getting.
And by the way, Cobb has 904 yards and needs 96 yards more to get 1,000. Thanks, Stephen.
Yeah, he's going to do it. He's going to do it. So you get him his 1,000 yards on Saturday versus Mercer, and then you just get these guys the ball. Now let's talk Cam Coleman for a second, because there's a lot of speculation about whether this young man is going to be an Auburn Tiger next year or not. I've talked to the Cam Coleman camp, and I'm not with all the people who think that he's already out the door. I will say he's not as unhappy as some people think he is, but he's really focused on football. He's really focused on these next 2 games and playing these next 2 games. But you've got Cam Coleman sitting here, and he's got 617 yards on the season. Now it's a stretch to think that he would get to 1,000 yards from where he's at right now. Auburn does not really have a receiver within striking distance, I think, of 1,000 yards so far this season. He's already better than he was last year. But 900 yards on the season may be possible for Cam Coleman if he snaps over these next few games. He's going to have a really, really good Iron Bowl. We saw him practically moss a dude last year up in Tuscaloosa for a touchdown. They've got to continue to prioritize getting him the ball over the next couple weeks, and prioritize him continuing to build a rapport with Ashton Daniels. Those guys look like they have been playing with each other for a really, really long time, and just the 1 week from Kentucky to Vanderbilt. You couldn't have told me, if I had just watched that game, that Ashton Daniels hadn't been playing the whole season the way he looked with these receivers.
Mike, have you noticed that really good offensive teams, they just get the ball to their best players? Have you ever noticed, like, teams that actually move the ball really well, it's the guys who are really talented somehow manage to get the ball in their hands a lot?
Yeah. I hated using them as an example, Caesar, but it was what I said last year about Alabama and Ryan Williams. They didn't make a bunch of excuses. They just threw him the ball. And he went out and he made some plays.
It's funny how that works, right?
Yeah. Right. Well, DJ Durkin said it. He said, we decided as a staff that we're just going to throw him the ball because he's one of the best players in the entire country. And boy, did that pay off for them offensively. Now, if you can't get the win, it all feels very arbitrary. You can't get wins. So they'll get the win versus Mercer. But boy, man, what would an Iron Bowl win mean, you think, to this team at this juncture? What would beating Alabama mean?
What it would mean for these guys, because again, they have yet to have that marquee win as a team. These guys who've come to Auburn, who bought into the idea that you can win meaningful games at Auburn, has yet to do that. So to beat Alabama at home in a game that no one expects you to beat them, and you are to go out and do that, it would signal to them that not only are things different from an offensive standpoint, things may be different from a culture standpoint, Mike, because now we're able to do certain things that we were unable to do up to this point. Now I'm actually, for those who are on the fence about whether or not Auburn is the place for me, not only are some of these guys getting the ball in their hands and they're getting opportunities that they otherwise were not getting, but outcomes appear to be different now. Now I'm looking at Auburn a lot differently after the Iron Bowl than I may have been maybe 2-3 weeks ago. And it makes that decision to leave a lot harder because now Auburn seems different. I love Auburn, but now it seems to be the Auburn that I was sold on before I even committed here.
Yeah, I have to believe that this is going to be. I think this game is going to be nuts. First of all, I don't think Alabama runs away with it. I think Auburn gives Alabama their absolute best shot in this game.
Are you saying it's going to be close?
I think that it's going to be wild. Okay. I think it's going to be wild. Look, if you are the light of heart, just buckle in for this Iron Bowl. It's going to be an epic one. There is something on the line here. There is something on the line. Now, you may not. The playoffs potentially will be on the line for Alabama going into this one. Who do they play this weekend? They don't have a late season bye, do they?
Alabama that's a good question. I think they have a light up, but they usually play someone light before they play Auburn.
Eastern Illinois. Okay, yeah,
right.
Yeah. So they'll be a 9-win team headed into the Iron Bowl, which is one point. There's no chance they lose before this game to take that away from what this will be. So the playoffs is on the line for them. A bowl game will be on the line for Auburn, but also potentially a head coaching job on the line for DJ Durkin. Right? Staff retention on the line for the rest of the staff. Roster retention on the line for Auburn if you win this game. So many things can happen one way or the other if you win or lose this football game if you're Auburn. But you have a chance to send a message, I think, to the decision makers if you're DJ Durkin by going out and winning this football game and not in a fluky kind of way. And I think that is going to be the big difference between how you see an Auburn football team and how you see, some of the wins against Alabama in the past. The 2019 Iron Bowl was certainly exciting, but that was kind of a fluky win. Right? You had 2 pick sixes where one of them bounces off the running back's back and you run it back 100 yards. And, I'm
with you.
You needed 2 pick sixes to win that football game by 3 points at home.
Yeah.
I don't think that's what we're in for this year. I think you see an Iron Bowl offensively more up in the vein of what we saw in that year that Nick Marshall threw for like 450 yards versus Alabama. I think we see a game offensively that's closer to that here, where the stars are shining. Ryan Williams is out there making plays. Cam Coleman's out there making plays. And maybe whoever has the ball last wins the football game.
Let me ask you a question, Mike. Do you think that for DJ Durkin, DJ Durkin is he wants the Auburn job, and he understands there's a lot riding on the Iron Bowl in order to really make this a tough decision for John Cohen. What does his defense need to do in that game?
You definitely need to shut the run down.
That shouldn't be hard to do against Brown.
Yeah, you need to shut the run down. But Ty Simpson, I would say, is playing at a above average level. I ain't gonna give them too much credit, but I think you just need to be who you've been. And I'm not expecting them to be anything different than what they've been up to this point. But I think you need to be who you've been. You've been a defense that has been stingy on the scoreboard. Now, you weren't versus Vanderbilt, and you have to get back to that in this Iron Bowl. I don't like Auburn in the shootout.
I guess that's why I'm saying, I know you said you wanted to see a Nick Marshall performance when he threw for 400 yards. That was a shootout.
It was.
So if you're talking about offensive production, but you're also talking about the defense bouncing back with a better performance in SEC competition since the Vandy game, it can't be a shootout. I think for Durkin, that will be a bad look on his part for the defense to be giving up a lot of points in the 2 conference games that he's a head coach of. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, look, I do think it would be a bad look. I'm with you. I do think it would be a bad look. Where it counts is on the scoreboard, though, right? Like, so if they're moving the ball between the 20s, that's who you've been. You've allowed teams to move the ball between the 20s. So there's a world where they rack up yards, but there's not a lot of points scored in this football game. And Auburn has precedent for that.
I can live with that. I can live with that.
Like, yeah. So I think that's, we may see a game like that here. And if you're Auburn, you've got to find that one more score. Your kicker certainly has to make kicks. And this one, Auburn's not going to survive a 1 field goal performance from Alex McPherson. He's going to have to make a few, right? Ashton Daniels is going to have to make a few plays, and then you have to avoid the devastating penalty. I would argue versus Vanderbilt, that penalty was the Preston Howard hold. Devastating for Auburn. He's gone for a touchdown.
False start, Xavier Atkins. Yeah.
Points off the board because you held on a play where you absolutely did not need to do that. And I hope that they spend the week coaching those mistakes out of these kids because you're going to have to play your best football game on Saturday. Moving on, there's a coaching search going on. There were some guys who interviewed this week for the job, the least of which not James Franklin in his 128-60 record interview for the job. Caesar, it was reported that our guy, Kenny Dillingham, also interviewed for the job this week. And Eli Drinkowitz's people reached out to Auburn. I'm not sure if he was given a formal interview, but certainly he is a name that was being pushed by some. I don't think Drinkwitz is going to get the job, but James Franklin apparently is off the table now after his interview. What do you think about James Franklin potentially being eliminated from the coaching pool here? I would argue of all the names that we heard as a potential coach, he was the most accomplished. Taking him off the board leaves you where if you're Auburn?
I don't know how serious of a candidate he was. I think I don't think he was as serious of a candidate. I think the people who Auburn is locked in on are still in play. If that makes sense. Like I think the people who you're seriously considering are still being considered. I think James Franklin, when John Cohen sat down with you and said that, hey, you'll be surprised at what names or people who have shown interest, I'd have to think that James Franklin was one of those names. But I don't think that James Franklin was seriously being considered. So I think it made it easy for them to move on from James and focus on the people who they had in mind the moment they fired you.
It seems like there were a lot of names that they had in mind. This coaching search feels very organized to me. Hear me out. It feels like there is a pool of candidates that
that's saying a lot when you consider Auburn's coaching searches of the past.
Yeah, I'm telling you, this feels very organized to me. I'm telling you, it feels like there was a set pool of candidates. Plus, there were guys reaching out, John told us during our interview, about the job that they were adding to the list and vetting through here, but chomping at the bit to potentially coach this roster. Chomping at the bit to coach this roster. I think that if you're John Cohen, you do due diligence, but I have a sneaking suspicion this athletic director already knows who he wants to hire. I think he already knows who he wants to give the job. He's going to go do his due diligence, and until they sign, nothing's done. So if it is potential. A lot of people pointed this out from the interview that we did with John Cohen, and I would caution people from taking too much from anything he said. But it was I love our community because they were like, Mike, he just gave you a hint right there in the interview that he mentioned that it depends on where, like, the timeline for hiring depends on where that coach is at in their season. Maybe signaling that the guy that they're looking at is probably going to have his team in the postseason. And I had to go back and listen to the interview, and I was like, he did say that, didn't he? I think what it says is that one of the names that is at the top of his list definitely has a team that is likely going to be playing postseason football, but it doesn't mean it's the only name at the top of his list. I'm telling you, he knows who he wants to hire, and he's got multiple contingencies, and he's ranked them in his head so that once one eliminates, he's moved on to the next one. But he made it clear, I am the committee. I'm going to be the one making this decision. So if you eliminate all the other voices in terms of this person trying to push that guy or that guy, and if it's just John, I think he's got a list, and I think he's working down his list right now. And I think there's a really, really good chance that within 24 hours of the Iron Bowl that we hear who the next coach is going to be. He said ideally that's his timeline. Within 24 hours of the Iron Bowl, he wants to name a coach.
I mean, that narrows it. To me, I can only think of two people who would fall into that category. Texas Tech is having an amazing year. I don't know if Arizona State gets into the I mean, they could, I don't know, but they have 3 losses, so that narrows it down to 2 people I can think of who are seriously being considered: Dillingham and Summerall.
Yeah,
and Summerall could still has an outside shot of getting in the college football playoff.
You think so? Hey, I'm iffy. I'm iffy on whether Tulane will have a shot at this or not. I see you guys in the chat here saying Kiffin is
and DJ. Like, to me, DJ is definitely square in this if you're trying to make a quick decision.
Yeah. If he's going to name it quickly, then obviously he's a name that
I don't know how you overlook DJ if time is of the essence.
Yeah. Look, I think that if you are naming DJ Durkin the coach after the Iron Bowl, it's because all the people you need to stay have told you that they're going to stay if you do that. That's your primary incentive to hiring him, right? Is that you feel like you have a lot of pieces already in place, and then you just have to go out and find an OC. And is it easier if you're Cohen? You're asking yourself, is it easier if I hire a offensive coordinator, a good offensive coordinator, rather than to go out and try to find that next dynamic head coach when my players and everybody else has said, hey, you hired this guy, we're in.
Yeah, to me, Mike, as time goes on, I know there are other aspects to DJ that that John needs to be evaluating and considering. But again, you're hiring a coach. The expectation is that Auburn next head football coach will be here at least 6 to 8 years. So you're going to have to make a decision based off of that time frame, as opposed to the next 2 to 3 years with this roster, right? Obviously, this head coaches should outlive the kids who are already here. So you need to make sure that you have someone who can continue Auburn on the ascent after the Cam Coleman's and Deuce Knights are gone, right? And so I know that I think there's a scenario where, because I know people say, hey, clean house if you have to. I don't think you have to, right? I think there's a scenario where you get your guy and you retain the people that you can't afford to walk out the door. And so I think that if that person just so happens to be DJ, so be it. I'm all for it. But if it's an outside person, if John Cohen has done his due diligence and it's someone else, then pull the trigger and let the cards fall where they're made. But again, you've already have identified the people you know you don't want leaving your program. And you have an NIL deal waiting on them to stay put.
Yeah. Cam Coleman, if he's going to be an Auburn Tiger next year, he's going to get one of the biggest NIL contracts in the history of college football. I think to stay.
And you're going to need to do that regardless of who you hire.
Yeah. Yeah, getting him to stay is going to be a combination of things, right? Like, and I'm not saying that he cares about the money that much. I'm telling you, it's just part of it. It's just part of this process. Because he's getting calls, I'm sure, from every program in the country right now.
Right.
To walk away and go to established programs here. So there are a few schools I definitely have confirmed are making a run at Cam, and Auburn's got some work to do here. Look, we're going to get to the break, and when we come back, we're going to get to your comments here on the other side, and then we're going to talk a little bit more about Auburn getting ready for Mercer, a game they should win, but how they win it will matter. How will they win it? We'll talk about that next, guys. Do us a favor. Share this video on social media at The War Report. Use hashtag Get Your Weight Up. Please hit like and subscribe on the channel. Follow us on socials at The War Report on Instagram, TW Report on TikTok. Let's pay some bills, and when we come back, we'll get to your comments.
This edition of The War Report is brought to you by our generous sponsors. Golden's Cast Iron. Whether you work out, grill out, or chill out, you deserve the best life possible, and Golden's Cast Iron is here to provide the tools to help you do it. Check them out at goldenscastiron.com.
The Rage Room. The Rage Room is a place where anger and stress find their ultimate release. Set up a session today at one of the 2 great locations in Opelika or Birmingham by visiting opelikaRageRoom.com or BirminghamRageRoom.com.
This episode of the War Report is brought to you by our friends at Abel's Iron Known Moore and Associates. You can find them at AINC.com or call 912-777-4128. Again, that's 912-777-4128, guys. Financial advice is not just for the rich and wealthy. It's for the everyday man as well, or the everyday business owner. You don't need a big balance to get big advice. At Abel's Iron Known Moore and Associates, there's no minimum to start your initial portfolio review. It's completely complimentary. Whether you're just starting to invest, a do-it-yourself investor, or in the final stages of planning for retirement, Amos Fiduciary Advisors will meet you where you are. No sales pitch, no pressure, just honest guidance. Call AIMA at 912-777-4128. Scan the QR code on your screen or visit AINC.com. It costs nothing to talk, and it could change everything. The War Report has been compensated by Abel's Iron Known Moore and Associates for this endorsement. AIMA is a SEC registered investment advisor. Registration as an investment advisor does not imply a certain level of skill or training. I want to thank our friends at the Vibe Vault. You can find them at 3462 Crosswinds Road, Suite E in Phoenix City, Alabama. If you're in the Columbus, Phoenix City area and you're looking to get fresh for the weekend, the Vibe Vault is the place for you, not just barbers, lifestyle consultants. I want to thank our friends at SetsForSociety.ai. The road to knowing self starts at Sets for Society. They have custom personality assessments to let you know a little bit more about how you think, how those around you think, and how you guys can best think together to achieve alike goals. SetsForSociety.ai. Visit them today. Fill out the form. They'll reach out and do the rest. Get to know yourself with Sets for Society. Join as a member, guys. $5.99 a month will get you there. We are growing our community every single day here at the War Report. Our game day experience is, for the most part, member only, so it helps us keep the Bama trolls out. You definitely want to be a member come Iron Bowl weekend. We're going to have a great time that weekend with you guys. Sign up right now on YouTube. If you're watching this on Twitter, come on over to YouTube, sign into your YouTube account, and hit that join button to join one of the greatest Auburn communities out there. Let's get to some comments here. Caesar, I want to thank Harold Greer for gifting 5 War Report memberships. We appreciate that, Harold Greer. Stephen Neely comes in and says, Mike G just nailed it. Iron Bowl equals Durkin. If not, it's Summerall. Is it just me, or am I the only one that's not super gung-ho about Summerall? Like, I think he'll be a good coach here. I do. He's not as high up on my list as everybody else is, though.
Who else is on your list other than Durkin?
Well, there's Durkin. And then there was Durkin.
You said everyone else is. I'm like, who's
yeah,
everyone else?
Summerall was on my list. He was on my list of coaches as well too. I maybe it was a little bit of a pipe dream, but like I would have liked to see them make a run of Rhett Lashley if we
Really?
could have. Yeah, I think
Okay.
he'd be a good. I think he'd be a good coach here. There were some La La Land picks out there like Kirk Cinetti, but things that just because of the contract situations were never going to happen here. And then there were some unserious names on the list, like Jimbo Fisher was such an unserious name. The fact that anybody put him on the list, when you look at the odds to be the next Auburn head coach, it was like, ugh, man. But here we are. We're at the end of the season, and 25% of the SEC has been fired.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I think as time, how you have like how you have like the trend arrows up or down. I think Summerall has been trending down a little bit for me, even though I would be excited about him because I've heard really good things about him as a coach overall. Obviously, I think defense would be in good hands. I've heard he has a tendency to be multiple defensively, which means I'm not as down on the idea of him not retaining a DJ Durkin. He seems like he probably will be open to that. That will be good. Yeah, I think guys like Dillingham, the more I've looked into Dilly, I would be okay with that hire. I think he actually would be open to coaching at Auburn and leaving his alma mater. I didn't think he would. I think he would be more of a Brent Key type of person who would stay where he is or stay put. So Dillingham is another person I think hey, if Auburn offered him the job, I would be good with it. I've actually warmed up to Alex Golish a little bit. I don't think he's as serious of a candidate. The problem with him is there a Golish 2.0? That would be my thing, because what I mean by that is I think he's calling plays at USF. You're not doing that at Auburn. You're not doing that at Auburn.
I thought I heard during the massive A&M comeback, during that broadcast, I thought I heard that the announcer say that Mike Elko took over calling plays on defense for A&M this year.
Really?
And we've been asking the question about whether there are any examples of head coaches who are the primary play caller on either side of the ball, and their teams are doing extremely well. And yeah, right. Yeah. And I was like, oh, did Elko take over play calling their defensively?
Is that confirmed?
That's what the announcer said. And so again, I don't know if it's true or not. I just
But my thing is, Heupel has been praised as a good offensive mind, good offensive coach, and he had Alex Golish calling his offense. Alex Golish leaves, and for him to take over a job that is on the level of a Tennessee, who's the next Alex Golish? Because you can't be the one calling plays. So who's that? That would be my only question and concern for him if he was to be a serious contender for the job.
Yeah, I think we're done with that here on the Plains. Yeah. No more calling plays. Right. Find somebody who can call plays for you. And I've been told Auburn is doing the work behind the scenes to make sure that whoever takes over the job, that is in place. There's a play caller in place on both sides of the ball. Okay. So, there's got to be some alignment here between who you bring in and the plan that they're formulating right now. I'm telling you to make sure that whoever it is free to be CEO. So it'll be interesting. Gabrielle Roper with the super chat says, crazy question. If Deuce goes just absolutely crazy against Mercer, could he start the Iron Bowl?
No.
This is a crazy question, but I appreciate that you recognize that it was crazy before you asked it. Yeah, no, I don't think so. I don't think so. Not unless something happened in front of him.
A less crazy question is worst case scenario. Ashton Daniels has to come out for whatever reason, the Iron Bowl, after Deuce went crazy against Mercer. Who's the first quarterback coming out behind him?
Wait,
Who's
hold
who's
on.
QB2? Who is QB2 in the Iron Bowl if Deuce goes nuts?
I think it has to be Deuce. But because
Really?
you're probably preparing him as the backup all week in the lead up to. So if you're getting him first team reps right now, Caesar, right? You're probably preparing him in the lead up to. That's what I would say. It's got to be Deuce. Let's move on through here. Robin DeBank says, please don't burn that young man's red shirt talking about Ashton Daniels. Save it. You're muted, by the way. Wesley Hilson says Mercer is 9-1 and averaging 41.7 points per game. Focus better be on this weekend. Yeah, don't look past. I hope we're in a place where, like, I get this, Wesley. I do. I just hope we're in a place where they can, an unfocused Auburn could beat Mercer.
I would like to think that after a bye week, you've given Mercer enough attention. I would like to think that, right? Like,
right.
I could see this if you had six days to prepare, but you've had a bye week. Like, you've had time to overlook Mercer and look at Mercer. I would like to think. And you know what I mean? Like, you have a lot of time to do, like, you can easily do that in 6 days. But to your point, Wesley, no, they shouldn't be overlooking anybody at this stage of the season, at this point in the season.
Yeah, you can't overlook anybody. And so if you're Auburn, you've got to be focused. That's the coach's job. I think they're going to do a good job of it here. Richard Reeves says Franklin is a good coach, but I think they might hire someone a little younger. What do you think about getting some younger energy on the Plains at head coach?
This is one of the things that we mentioned on our live on Friday, Mike, is someone who has that drive. It's a grind, Mike. Being successful at this level is a grind, and it doesn't just start in August and September. Like, it's year round, and usually your younger coaches with something to prove are up for that challenge. The question with accomplished coaches is, do they still have that drive and fire? Are they willing to adapt? Like, you're seeing, there's a reason why Nick Saban said, "I'm good, y'all."
Agreed.
There's a reason he walked away. So,
Stephen Neely says A.D. Cohen hinted to that in the interview. Let's see how the candidates finish. Franklin was already on the couch.
Yeah, he was finished.
Yeah, I want to thank everybody who watched that interview. You guys really came through hard on that one. Chat, you can tell me how you think. We've done a lot of interviews here at the War Report. That was one of the best interviews I think I've done. And we sat down with Hugh Freeze like 3 or 4 times. We sat down with Brian Harsin. You know, we sat down with Bruce Pearl, Stephen Pearl. I wouldn't have thought that the one interview with the administrator would have been instead of the head coach would have been the best interview. But God, man, that interview was so good. I enjoyed the conversation with John.
If you want good PR, come to the War Report. Come talk to us.
Right. Yeah. Right. Come on now. I sent the interview to John.
That's a slogan. We make you look good.
yeah.
Interview with the War Report. We make you look good.
We make you look good.
Yeah.
And we make it look easy. I sent the interview to John, and I said, John, here's a link to the interview. Read through the comments here and see how favorable people look at how you do your job after this interview. People left that feeling more confident that he was the right guy to pick the right coach after that interview. And that's a credit to John, right? Like, you know, we facilitated the interview, but I just think that's who he is. I'm a big John Cohen fan. I know a lot of people don't like him, and he became even less popular after he moved that Baylor game to Atlanta. But he, from a business standpoint, he understands what college athletics is and what it needs. And I think Auburn's lucky to have a guy that gets it.
This is the same guy who hired Mike Leach at Mississippi State. I never thought that would ever happen. So I'm curious to see what he does on his second hire.
It's funny you say that though, because there's a bunch of people out there actually using it as an insane. Like he keeps trying to turn Auburn into Mississippi State. I think he's trying to turn Auburn into Auburn. I don't understand that sentiment. Like he's trying to make Auburn Mississippi State. I don't get that. Our guy Rob Zito says he talked ish on Auburn. Speaking of Franklin, when Harsin led Auburn, Harsin led Auburn play Penn State, Auburn probably brought that up in the interview. Did he? Was he talking crap? Franklin was.
Man, I don't. But John Cohen wasn't the AD at the time, so I don't even know if Cohen has that reference. Yeah. DJ says, I agree with Caesar, assuming just he means everything Caesar said today. Justin Thomas says, I thought it was impossible when Freeze got here. Our offense could be worse, but here we are. Justin, that makes you and me both. Goodness gracious.
Yeah. Our guy, Unassailable Brilliance, says, Dillingham is far too experienced to be even in contention. Inexperience. What do you think about the inexperience of Dillingham? Maybe ruling him out from the job. He's already a P4 coach.
If experience is what you want, then you should be disappointed that Auburn said no to Franklin. He's one of your more experienced people.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
You should be. I mean, again, I'm not telling you who you should be interested in, but again, there are certain people who I think Auburn fans have unanimously said no to. Jimbo Fisher, he has a lot of experience. Like, there are people who are. This is not an exact science, guys. The head coach over at Georgia right now was hired away from Bama as a defensive coordinator. Like, there are certain people who they have the chops for it and never had any experience to prove themselves. You just never know, right? You just don't know. Like, there are some guys who, again, you look at Oregon's head football coach. He didn't have any head coach experience, but Oregon's a powerhouse, right? They're terrorizing the Big Ten right now. So I hear you if your concern is on experience at this level, but there are people who are killing it at programs equal to or greater than Auburn who didn't have experience when they were hired. It's not an exact science. You just got to get the guy who gets it and who fits in.
Chris Zavichin says, I heard rumors, but like the rumors that Auburn is going after Baylor's OC to become Auburn's OC. Speaking of Jake Spavital, I
was impressed with his offense. Well, he had a really impressive QB, so
yeah,
that helped.
This rumor is coming from Locked On Baylor. I'm not taking it very seriously.
That's funny.
So I will say that. And
what's your deal with Locked On Baylor?
Grifting on Auburn fans for views.
Okay.
Grifting on Auburn fans for views.
Okay, that was a alley-oop for you.
Yeah. Just talk about Baylor. Like I don't understand that. I have not. I will tell you again. What is true here is that Auburn is coming up with a coordinator plan here to make sure that whoever they hire is not in any kind of position where they have to call plays on either side of the ball, which makes me feel like DJ Durkin is a very, very strong candidate here. Makes me feel like Durkin is a very, very, very strong candidate here. But as far as Baylor's OC, I have not heard this name in particular, and I've heard a lot of names. So if there is a source other than those guys, then you let me know in the comments. Let's see here. Ronte Dajian says Stephen Pearl and Kenny Dillingham. Let's go young. There is a lot of young. I think the average age of Auburn head coaches is like 44. I think right now.
Really?
Yeah, I put this out there the other day. I told them all up, and I was like, we're at soup between our guy Larry Vickers and Stephen Pearl. And now DJ Durkin, we're pretty young a head coach on the Plains.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, so it is interesting times. Stephen Neely says, open to all. What is the most important to you? Maintain the roster, number one. Number two, keep DJ Durkin head coach or not. Number three, hire the best long-term fit at head coach.
3, 1, and 2. You hire the best long-term fit that everything falls into place.
I agree. John Cohen said that some of the guys who interviewed for the job were inquiring about whether DJ Durkin would be willing to stay on as defensive coordinator if he got passed over for the job. And what a compliment to DJ, right?
Yeah.
This offseason, Caesar, he was one of the most sought-after coordinator names. We know we had to fight off Ohio State to keep him.
Mm-hmm.
If we had to absolutely fight tooth and nail to keep him.
And Mike, if he doesn't get the head coaching job, he will be one of the most sought after defensive coordinators again this offseason.
Yeah, he definitely will. He definitely will.
Yeah.
That guy just gets football. And I think he understands what football is today. And I said this on a previous show. I said it on social media. I'll say it again. If someone asked me, what's the one mistake Auburn cannot make in the hiring process this go around? And I said, you cannot hire a coach whose best days are already behind him.
How do you know that? How do you know if his best days are behind him?
Making the mistake that what he did 10 years ago is relevant to what,
like beating Bama twice, or he beat Bama twice and he did this. He caught lightning in a bottle and he did something really cool.
Yeah. I think that if you want to win championships, you need a guy who sniffed a championship in the last 4 or 5 years, or is a really, really good up and coming coordinator from a championship pedigree, a current championship pedigree.
Yeah. Yeah. I can go with that.
That's how you know his best days aren't behind him. So, we'll see. We'll see who they end up getting. Cartel Phillips, not on the Summerall, aka Billy Napier 2.0 train.
Okay, help me understand this one. Now, like I said, I think Summerall is like, for me, he's been trending downward, but I think Napier 2.0 is kind of disrespectful.
You think so?
Yeah, it's kind of, well, number one, Napier coaches offense, Summerall coaches defense. I don't think Summerall will call plays. Napier called plays. Like there are certain things, like there's a correlation there with why Napier failed, I think. So I don't know if these two are the same. I don't know if he's going to pan out at the next level either, but I think anointing him Napier 2.0 before he even gets a P4 job is I don't know if I'm rolling with that. Like, let him become Billy Napier first before you call him 2.0.
Yeah.
Just a thought.
Peasy says, I'd rather go Charles Kelly if DJ doesn't get it than Summerall. He's from Alabama, played here, has 2 championship rings, great recruiter, and has Jack State 7-3 right now. Twice the resume. Wardam Eagle.
He's not a sexy pick, but I think he would be. He's another guy who comes. How old is Charles Kelly?
He gave they gave UCF a run for their money in that first game. I'm telling you, he's another one of those guys, Mike, who comes from a really good pedigree. He's been a part of championship programs. And kudos to him. I think that's a big leap from him. His first year at Jacksonville State, going to Auburn. That's a big leap. But he's 58.
58. Yeah, that's a big leap. That's a big leap for Charles Kelly. This is his first year as a head coach. Congrats to him, but that's a big leap.
Alan Brooks says, Brom, Golish, Dillingham. I don't think we get any of them, but hopeful. Summerall's to lose, I guess. Ugh.
Tell me how you really feel about Summerall, Alan.
Yeah.
That's funny.
He said, I don't think we get any of them.
He hit us with the push of T. Ugh.
Yeah. Ugh. Yeah. I don't know, man. I'm not big on goalish. Braum got a good track record with development. He's got a really good track record with development. I would wonder how he would recruit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Daniel Denny says Deuce said he's the plan that I think he plans to start at a signing event. So Deuce getting ready to start maybe in his own mind.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know, Mike. I don't know how you don't start this kid and try to get him excited about the future when you have an opportunity to display him as the future and don't take it. You know,
Not just him, Caesar. The other guys too. These guys want to play with Deuce. Put him out there. Like,
this is your opportunity to do it. I think that's malpractice to not do that. But we'll see.
EPZ says, how old is Saban exactly? More experience in big games. 58 is young enough. Can you imagine if Saban came out of retirement to coach Auburn?
That would be hilarious.
that would be absolutely hilarious. Harold Greer says, I don't care who we get. We need someone
Saban is 74, by the way.
I'd still take him. I'd still take him. Harold Greer says, I don't care who we get.
A lot of people would still take him.
We need someone who can retain this roster and able to build on it and use it effectively. We'll end here with the comments unless another super comes in. But having someone who can build on this roster or retain the roster first and then continue to build, I think is top of the mind for John Cohen here, because you spoke earlier this season about how much money Auburn spent keeping the wide receiver room together, about keeping this roster together. From a purely business standpoint, I can't believe he's ready to watch that investment walk out the door. So every decision he makes has to be about keeping the talent in place for the next coach. They've got to keep the talent in place for the next coach. Now, I'm not on board with anybody who says, oh, but, just we'll let Cam go if you don't want to be. No. You're not just finding another Cam Coleman. When you get generational talent on your campus, do what you can to keep it. Do what you can to keep them around. You did all the work to get them here. I'm tired of watching these 5-star guys transfer out and then, build legacies elsewhere. No more. After Bo, no more. Finish. You started it here. Finish it here. We're going to finish the show here. I want to thank everybody for joining us on this special edition of the weekend tailgate. A little bit of a different schedule here because of the basketball game. We brought you guys a post game, but we had to get it in for our regular Sunday fam here. Caesar, before we get out of here, final thoughts, man, on the coaching search. Does Cohen get this right? Do you think he gets this right? And how content do you think people will be with the final decision here? He said that fans would be surprised at some of the names that are in the running for the coaching job. But, are those surprise names what you need? Or is it just you get the right guy and a lot of people are going to maybe hate it at first, but he ends up being the right guy after he comes in and wins a bunch of football games?
Mike, it's going to be a mixed bag. We have way too many opinions. Even if you look in our comment section, there are people who are championing some candidates and shooting down. There are people who are shooting down the exact same candidate. Like, it's going to be a mixed bag, right? And so I just think that if you get a guy who understands what it takes to succeed in the modern era of college football, I think Auburn has secured a great head coach. Someone who has the drive, someone has the work ethic, and someone who at least has executed a blueprint that leads to success. Some of the things that you've mentioned, I think the appeal to Summerall is that this guy has not only built a program, but he has sustained an existing successful program, which in some cases is a lot more difficult to do than the former. But you also have guys like DJ Durkin, who has some of the work ethic and who is meticulous at what he does, that if that was to transfer over into being a head coach and running a program, and you just hire great coordinators who are a lot like you, what could Auburn be? Obviously, they would be a lot more improved. But again, you want someone who understands how to succeed in the modern era of college football. And I don't think Auburn had that with the last couple of coaches they hired. Getting that person, in my opinion, regardless of how many championships Auburn wins or doesn't, getting a coach who understands just baseline how to compete at this level is an improvement and a step up from what you've had previously.
Agreed. Look, we're going to go ahead and get out of here. But, guys, do us a favor. Hit the comments after the video. Let us know what you think. Should Deuce Knight start versus Mercer? Will he start versus Mercer? And tell us what you think about James Franklin maybe being eliminated from the coaching search. Who should Auburn go get? We want to hear from you. We want to thank our title sponsor, Golden's Cast Iron, guys. Visit Golden'sCastIron.com/WR. Use the codes on your screen to get your Golden's Cast Iron products. Join as a member. Hit that join button over on YouTube if you're watching this on Twitter or Facebook. We appreciate you guys for joining the live stream. 1,000 of you in here with us tonight. But we need you over on YouTube. So please head on over there and subscribe to the channel. And make sure you hit that hype button. It's a new feature that YouTube is putting in here to make sure you promote your favorite content. We hope that's us. I want you to please follow us on podcast, your favorite podcast platform. We are there with the Auburn Express, Uptempo College, Zoop, Just a Sec, and the War Report Gaming channel. Lots of great audio-only content for you guys. So we appreciate you for helping us climb the podcast charts. The War Report is a top 100 podcast. We want to be a top 50 podcast. We need your help to get there. Do us a favor, guys, and head on over to social media. Add us at the War Report. Use hashtag Get Your Weight Up. Hit like and subscribe on the channel. As I mentioned before, that helps us a ton in the algorithm. Follow us on X and Instagram at the War Report, TW Report on TikTok. We're going to be back at you guys, myself and Caesar, on the Auburn Express tomorrow morning in the lead up to Mercer. We're signing off, and as always, Rory.